everybody, welcome back to my studio. This is Emma and a very, very warm welcome to you if it's your first visit to me. If you've just found my studio tucked away here in a corner of the northwest of England in a place called Cumbria, a county called Cumbria, if you're from somewhere else in the world. I live in a very beautiful place. They call it the Lake District around here, and we live just outside of that. And it's very beautiful. I'm very blessed to be here, so it's lovely that you found me. Fantastic, and welcome to you. We get to lots of fun things here. My main aim in making these videos originally was just because everything had gone topsy-turvy in the world, was just to provide a little corner of something peaceful or relaxing or, you know, creative, and that's basically what I'm doing. And this is nearly 3 years that I've been doing this now. It's quite incredible. I never ever in my wildest dreams imagined I would have a YouTube channel. That was not on my list of aims and ambitions in life. I've never really had aims and ambitions in life, to be honest with you. I've just kind of drifted along and things have shown up for me. Opportunities have come along and I've taken them with both hands and run with them, and good things come. I've done all sorts of wacky things in my days. In my days on this planet, I've done all sorts of interesting jobs, and now I'm just doing the most interesting one of all, which is creating art and showing it to you. It's the most joyful thing to do, to share it. Having an audience, honestly, as an artist, the greatest gift anybody can give me is some feedback on my work, or just coming to see it, just seeing it. I think art needs an audience, it really does. There's an interaction that happens obviously between myself and what I create, or what you make yourself. You know how you feel when you're doing things, and it's lovely when somebody sees your work and goes, even if it's, I don't mind if it's a negative feedback, I don't mind, as long as people can see it and interact with it and maybe take away something from it. Hopefully if it brings them a bit of joy, that's great. I've certainly had some interesting experiences down the years showing my work in different places, but this to me is wonderful because I've got an audience and we're sharing this journey together, and if it's inspiring you to get creative too, well, that's just fantastic. So I've had a meeting now with my group called Fabricate. If you haven't seen it already, there is a video, I don't know, several videos back that I did at Christmas. It was my Christmas present to everybody, and it was just a little video of our shows last year that we did, showing our work as a group. We're textile artists, we just make stuff and we like to show it, and we like to share what we do and to encourage other people to do it as well. We do some little workshops and we do a Meet the Makers Day and things like that as part of our exhibitions. But we had our meeting. We had a meeting after Christmas, our first one after Christmas, first one in 2023, to discuss where we're doing and what we're doing this year. So we've got at least one exhibition lined up, and possibilities of two other possibilities that we're looking into anyway. So that was very exciting, just to get together with my friends, and we just love what we do. We just quietly make things. A lot of people have jobs, you know, proper jobs as well, and you know, one or two of us are full-time makers, but not everybody. And you know, it's just a joy to come together and support each other. So if you're not in a group, if you're on your own and you want to be doing something, you don't even have to show your work to the public unless you feel so inclined. But there's a lot of appetite out there, I think, for art and craft these days, and for getting making. Whenever I've done a demo anywhere, you know, people just really want to know what you do and how to do it, and then they go away and they can have a go themselves. I know at least one viewer, who shall remain nameless, has bought not only a sewing machine but an embellishing machine. I don't take full credit for anybody going out and buying a machine, and I'm certainly not here to promote you going out and buying anything, but if you're inspired to have a go at something because of something I'm showing you here, you know, that's an absolute bonus, it really is. So lots of good stuff, lots of positive things, and I think that's so important given everything else that's going on at the moment in the outer world that I don't take much notice of, to be honest. I'm busy creating my little space here and my life the way I'm doing it. So what we're going to do today, well, let's get this and see where we're at. So this is, I can almost get all of it on for you. There we go. It's this long piece that's going to go tucked inside the little book. If you've just joined us, this is a little book that we're making. This is the cover, and we're making a sort of landscape to go inside it, sort of concertina it up. So I'm busy sewing it. It's been a little journey sewing it because I have to make some choices and decisions about what's going where, and sometimes it's a little bit scary to get going, but that's what we're going to get on with today. So I think the next thing to do is to choose some more colours of thread and do a bit more stitching, and then obviously I'm going to have to get to the point. The nitty-gritty point is going to be how on earth I'm going to assemble this thing. So stick with it and we'll see where we get to today. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to look and see what sort of threads I might be liking to use next. I've got these sort of pinky colours, sort of pinky colours I say, pinky beigey, and I'm looking at this bit down here, and I'm also looking at this section here, what sort of colours I'd like to go with that. And I see something like that's a bit dark. Well, this might do for up here possibly. It's all about just seeing what seems to be the right shade. What makes you go, ooh, yes, that's the one to use. So I'm looking at that one. I think my money's on this one, okay? And I just want to do some stitching down here. I've still got some more dark to do over here, but I'm just taking it really slowly. There's absolutely no rush with this. It's evolving quite nicely as we go along, and I think that that's really nice. I'm just really taking my time. There's a few bits and pieces to do, and then I'm going to have to do the edges, and then I'll be thinking about how to construct it all, so that's going to be the next thing as well. But first of all, I've got some fun stitching to do, and as I say, I think I'm going to use this one next for down here and add some nice lighter colours down this bit here. So I'm just doing a little bit of brave stitching down here. I'm actually using a light colour down this bit. So this is really my favourite bit when I'm machine embroidering, is when I've started. So this is really my favourite bit when I'm free machining, is it's beginning to all come together and it's beginning to make some sense, and I just keep adding perhaps some different colours in different parts. And I suppose it's like tweaking a painting. You just keep going and looking at it and seeing, well, can I put a bit of something here, put a bit of that there, you know, how am I going to stitch these down? These are like little tree lines down here. I don't know if you can see that, so let's just turn it sideways. So I've got this little sort of line of tree-ishness, sort of tree-ish. Woodland's the word, isn't it? Not tree-ish. I do love the way I make up words. A little bit of woodland here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of wiggly waggly stitching down it, but I just love it. It's just, I'm having such a nice morning doing this. It's beautiful. Once you've got the sort of the guts together, if you like, and you kind of know roughly where you're going with it, it's just joyful just to keep adding bits to it. And it's always less is more, I think, in my book. It's always like, do a bit less than you think you need, step back, look at it, and then if you want to add more, go ahead, but if you think, well, that's enough, then it's knowing when to stop. So I'm just trying to hold this down so it doesn't come off again. Obviously it's been embellished on, which is very useful to do, but you know, it could just get pulled off. But I want it to stay looking textured. Okay, so I think I'm kind of more or less finished just stitching to make it into a picture, as it were. Stitching it down, getting it all in place. I'm thinking that the next thing to do really is these bottom edges need attending to. So there you go, that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment. So it's deciding now how I'm going to get it to fit into here, and I'm going to have to do my, as I say, I'm going to need to do my edges and work out exactly what size to go into the book. I also need to work out whether, I think possibly it needs a little bit more stiffening, and I'm just wondering, I'm just debating with myself. I've got some iron-on stiffener here. It's got a nice shiny iron-on backing, so I might put some of that on the back. The other question is, do I put a nice brown fabric on the back? See, I have to answer all these questions as you go along. You think you've solved one little bit and then another little bit comes along for solving. But I love that. This is what I really enjoy, is the technical challenge of putting this together. I could have made a simple thing to go on the wall, but this has been so much more interesting to do. So let us now, I think I need to measure it first of all, get these edges turned in, and then I'll attend to the back and whether I'm going to stiffen it a bit more and what I'm going to do. I've got to manufacture a way of doing these edges next, because as you can see they've gone a little bit feral, shall we say. They've gone a little bit wild, which is lovely, but I think for a book you need this edge to be nice and straight and stiff so that it can stand up. So I'm just turning these edges up down here, which is great because suddenly all the raggedy edges have gone, and I'm making sure that that's going to fit inside there quite nicely, I think. And then what I'm going to do is measure. I'll measure what that size is now. That was 5.5. Well, you know, well, that was my planned size. So how good is that? I'd roughly made it out to be, shall I show you? Look, 4.5 for that bit for the folding, and 5.5 top to bottom. So that's pretty good. I'm impressed with that. And I'm just going to go along and put pins in along the length of this. I'm just going to go along and put pins in where 5.5 is on here. You could probably mark this with a water-soluble pen or something, but not on these dark bits obviously. So I'm just going to stick a pin in. It's going to be rough. This top edge I know has got a bit of a waggle to it, and that's okay. It's fraught with danger doing this, I have to say. It's fraught with danger. It could go horribly wrong at any moment now, and then I'll be sitting here going, oh no, it's ruined. I've ruined it. It's hopeless. It's not going to come together. What am I going to tell people? And I think, well, actually, do you know what? Nothing is a disaster. Any mistakes, the beautiful thing about fabric is any mistakes you make. The number of things I've bodged already on this that nobody will know about, and because it's fabric, I could always add something else. I could always be adding something else down here, you know. No big deal. No panic needed. There we go, 5.5, there we go. And all the way along to the end. And then we'll get those turned up. Fingers crossed that this is going to work. Okay, so what I've done now is I've turned up this edge and I've well and truly pinned it in place, so there's going to be no escapees here. I'm taking no chances. I'll show you right over on the back, because what I've done is I've added a bit more stitch and tear, which I'm going to trim off to about there, I think, underneath here, and that's just to give this edge a bit more stability, so that when it stands up this has got a nice stiffness to it. So I'm going to take this over to my machine now, and we'll get this edge sort of sorted out and stitched in place, and then we're going to need to do something about, you know, putting these two pieces together, which is going to be quite exciting, quite a challenge. I've got various thoughts about how I might go about doing it, and I will show you as we go along. But first, some stitching along here. Okay, so that looks better, doesn't it? I've got it all stitched along there, along the bottom, and that looks a lot neater, I think. I've got a few little bits to snip off there, here and there. So I'll sort all of that out. Now then, so I feel as though this piece is all about light and dark, and look at that, the sunshine is literally just coming through across the rooftops again. I'm getting a shadow, but we're getting a little piece of light picking that up, and I feel as though this piece is all about dark and light again. It's very, very earthy, but I think it's about the light, and I was looking at it and I just thought, you know what this piece needs is it needs a moon, and I think the moon goes there. It's as though there was a little dip in the mountains just waiting for it. Now look at that. I feel as though that then is picking this up, and it's kind of shining on this bit over here, and I've done some lightish stitching along here, and we've got patches of sunlight down here. No, sunlight, I mean moonlight down here, and I feel as though, you know, this could be the moon picking up this bit as well. So look at that. I now need to find a piece of fabric to go on there and stitch it on, and I just think that lifts the piece. It suddenly makes sense of it being so dark and so sort of somber looking almost, and that's why I wanted to do all this brown. It makes sense now why I had to take it all off and just go back to the plain brown background, and how these pieces have come into this piece just by magic. Honestly, when I sat down at my embellisher and just stitched put them all on, and now I've stitched it. You see, even that little bit there, I think that's almost, if I do that, you'll see, look, this is what I think the moon is doing. It's lighting it all up. And I think the other thing is, when you take this, and this is going to be the book end, if you like, when that goes on there like that, and it's going to be standing up, it's almost as though I feel that the moon is coming through these trees. These are tree trunks, and it's going to be like looking through tree trunks at a landscape, and there'll be this moon. Anyway, it's hard to show you at this level, but that's what I'm thinking. So I think the next thing to do is get some fabric, get a moon on, and then I'm going to work on sorting this lot out and getting it into the book, assembling it all, which is going to be an interesting challenge, I think.
Ba ba da ba da ba da ba ba.